Yeah, I mean, you said the series is a reimagining. How would you describe the style of the series compared to sort of previous incarnations of the old comic strip?
Well, I would definitely say that the style of the show is not as campy as the film, in the sense that it's sort of trying to steer clear from the obvious camp nature of that. It's a bit of a tricky thing to describe, because the show, in terms of tone and style, definitely changed as the season went along. I think at the outset the idea was to try and do something that had both the qualities of young 20-somethings drama, maybe, but with some science fiction elements, sort of in the style of a Smallville. But then also trying to incorporate some of the higher, more arch concepts of science fiction in a Stargate sense. And I think that at first the show was maybe trying to play both of those angles. What's happened as the season progressed and as they sort of found the right tone for the show is, although there is still some of the Smallville aspect, there's much more of a sort of somewhat of a Stargate feel, but a bit darker, because obviously we're on one particular planet that's ruled by a dictator that's very stern, and he becomes much more villainous and much more reprehensible as the show goes along. So the show did take on naturally a darker tone than it started out with. So that, I mean, that's sort of a roundabout way of describing the tone of the show. I mean, does that sort of answer it for you?
Yes, thank you. I mean, you've already touched on the original comic strip and the film. I mean, obviously they're there, and how difficult is it to sort of avoid those in comparison? Because I presume you, in interviews and things that you're going to be doing, people are going to be referring back to those a lot. So, I mean, how do you avoid the sort of the formats that are set out by that?
Well, I mean, you see, the thing is, one thing I've sort of said a lot is that we're dealing with a different medium, in the sense that the comic strips were pen and ink, two-dimensional. The movie is obviously a film format, so it's a much sort of grander, bigger canvas, and a different type of approach, and also something that's more than 20 years old, so a different sensibility, a different style.
Yeah.
We're now dealing with the television medium. So it's a different platform on which to extrapolate the original idea and sort of flesh it out in a new way. And I think whenever you transport something, be it from a book or from a comic strip or from a magazine article or whatever it is, it's obviously every time it comes into a different medium, it changes. It has to inherently change in order to serve the medium that it's now in. So I think that there are obviously some people will try and draw comparisons between the film or between the comic strip, and what I would say is it's got some of the inherent Flash Gordon elements in it that will connect it to the original material, and yet it extrapolates and goes in a new direction. As I think all of the versions of Flash Gordon have, from the Filmation version that was done, the animated version, and the Buster Crabbe serials and all of that, I think they've all been unique and distinct and different in their own way, partly because of the eras in which they've been done, but also because of the different medium.
Okay. I mean, have you seen that the bar in the quality of sci-fi programs has really been raised sort of continually since the X-Files, really, hasn't it? So, I mean, everyone seems to be outdoing each other, because, I mean, there was sort of the X-Files, Stargate, Lost, and Heroes, and it continually seems to play upwards, doesn't it? So.
No, I was just going to say, well, I think, I mean, I would agree and disagree in some ways, because originally the X-Files wasn't a sci-fi series. It was originally done for Fox in the States, and it was actually the first series on that network that really broke out and got big ratings numbers. And so it was done on a main network, and those networks were spending bucket loads of money to make programming. I think actually, as the diversification, particularly in North America, as the diversification of shows has expanded the number of options for viewers, it becomes a difficult balance between finding the right budget in order to justify making the show and getting done visually what you need to get done, and also not basically putting all your eggs in one basket. I think a lot of networks struggle with the idea that either they're going to throw a ton of money at something thinking it's going to be a surefire hit, and if it doesn't, they've really, really hung themselves out to dry. Or they try and spread the money around to a number of different shows and hope that something lands and then throw some more money at it when it does. I think that was certainly the case with Stargate. Stargate started out on a very modest budget in their first season as an independent syndicated show. That of course has ended up being a tentpole for sci-fi. It's been a huge show for them, and it's spawned, obviously other franchises and other revenue streams for them. And as that has built, they've thrown more money at it. So I think that I don't know that there is a race